Hi, this is DJ Tina, host of HMTV Canada E-Zine. On the phone with me today is Susan Masino, author of the book Let There Be Rock and Roll. Hi, Susan. How's your summer going?
Great, Tina. Thanks. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I've been going to the beach a lot this summer and concerts at the Molson Amphitheater. Wild things going on there, and I'm enjoying my summer.
Oh, yeah. Yep. I'm trying to go to as many outdoor events as I can.
Well, other than working, which we all have to do, just putting in time and just, getting out more and enjoying the good outdoors and going on little nature walks. It's been fun.
Oh, yeah. Yep. We don't have that much warm weather down here, so we have to take advantage of it.
Oh, for sure. We've had our rainy days, but we've had our great days, too.
Yeah, we've got beautiful weather here, and I wish it would last all year long. I really want to move to the beach.
I don't blame you. Don Coleman recommends Let There Be Rock, an excellent read. Can you tell us about your novel, Let There Be Rock?
It came out in October of 2006. It's a biography of the band AC/DC, and it really goes over their whole career from the time that they started out. And first time that I met them was on their first American tour in 1977, and comes all the way up to 2006. And now that they have the new album and tour coming out, I kind of wish I could add another chapter.
So you knew the band way back 1970?
Yeah, 1977. Yep,
Okay.
They actually played in Madison, Wisconsin on the day that Elvis died. In 77, it was August 16th. They played a little club downtown, and I had never heard of them.
You knew Brian Scott and Bon Scott
yep.
and Brian?
Yeah, well, Bon, and then Brian replaced Bon.
Oh, okay.
So, yep, I did get to know Bon. I got to see him for pretty much almost 3 years before he passed. Every time that they came through the area, because I became friends with the band, and every time they played in the Chicago, Madison, Milwaukee area, I would go hang out with them. So I was really lucky to be able to hang out with Bon on several occasions.
Are you still with the band today?
I see them when they go on tour. I saw Cliff and Brian Johnson down in Florida last July when they were doing the Classic Rock Cares shows. So I got to see them then, but usually I see them when they're on tour.
So you still hang out with them as usual?
Yeah, I'm pretty lucky to be able to get backstage and say hello, and we reminisce and laugh about stuff, and it's just funny how much they remember from, back in the day when they were, driving around in a station wagon with a road crew of 3 guys and a truck. Things have changed an awful lot since then.
Will you be interviewing them in the future again?
I hope so. I guess we'll see what happens when the tour actually gets launched and find out, when they're going to be playing here. I would love to be able to talk to them again and find out, how they're doing. I haven't seen Angus and Malcolm since 2001, so it's been a few years now.
Is it just your MySpace page that we can buy your book, Let There Be Rock?
Yeah, you can. You can go there for information. If you want to buy a copy, you can go to Amazon.com or BarnesandNoble.com. There's several different places on the internet that you can. I think it's BooksPlus.com or MusicRoomPlus.com. I'm sorry. So there's several places that you can go to find it.
I'm still waiting for my copy to come in the mail, so when it does, I'm going to read it through and through. I'm looking forward to the book.
I'm just lucky to have it out there, and it's been printed in German, Spanish, Czech, Russian, and I believe it's going to be in French by the end of the year. So that's really exciting to see it come out in different languages too.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's been quite a privilege for me to be able to write that book, because there's a lot of people out there that could write those books, and I actually got chosen to write this for Music Sales Group that they actually published the music tablature books for AC/DC.
Okay.
Looking for somebody to write an updated biography, and I got real lucky.
Yeah, you did for sure. Can you tell us where you studied broadcasting and journalism?
Oh, where I studied it? I actually just started doing it. I started writing back in 77 for a local newspaper, and I just continued to write for local music newspapers in the area. I actually published my own rock newspaper for 6 years here in Madison called Rock Central, and then I had been pushing the local radio stations to do a local show for the local musicians. And I finally got a rock station interested back in 1997, and they wanted me to host the show. So I ended up on the air with no experience whatsoever, which was crazy. I had an engineer to run the board for me, and I just learned from there, and I ended up doing the show for 7 years.
That's really impressive that you learned all this on your own.
Well, now I wish I could have gone back and and learned a lot of stuff through a class, because it was not so easy. Just going out there, I was terrified when I was on the air. For the first year, I was probably terrified every time I went on the air. It took me a while to get used to it.
As a broadcasting student, we just wish to have at least 1% of the chance that you did for like real-time experience for job shadowing and stuff like that. As a part-timer in class, it's hard to get a work placement because you're working a job, and this is what we want. We want to get some real-time experience.
Oh, definitely. And there's a lot of ways to do that, as far as like getting into a radio station and trying to intern with somebody, be an intern, and but it depends on where you live too. How many stations that you have access to.
You're right. What inspired you to be a rock journalist?
I grew up, my parents were venue owners, so they always had live music playing, and I loved music, and I loved the musicians, and we would get to know people over the years, that would travel with their families, and I really wanted to be part of it, but I learned a couple of instruments when I was in school. I really wasn't very good, and I had terrible stage fright. I couldn't stand the thought of being on stage and having somebody watch me, so I had to figure out a way to be in the business without being a performer, and that's where the writing came in. I actually met a band and their friends and got to know somebody that had a local paper, and of course it was for free, just starting to write and review bands, go out to the bars and see a band and review the show and maybe ask the band or the musicians some questions, and just that's kind of how I started. And I just was lucky enough to find a way to do it and to keep doing it. So I guess I just figured out this is a good way to be in the music business without having to actually play.
Are you still actively publishing Rock Central News and writing for WI Music?
Actually, I do the column. I don't do the paper anymore. I did the paper for 6 years, and then I kept the Wisconsin Music News column that I did, started that way back in 1991, and that got published after my paper was done. I had it in a Chicago paper for about 3 years, and then it was online at the radio station I was at, and now it's on MySpace as a blog. So I still do it, but right now it's just on MySpace.
In the business of publishing, has there been any challenges financially to get your newspaper, Rock Central, like on the ground started? Like, what was it like?
Yeah, it was, it's always really hard to sell advertising. Back, when we were doing the paper, it was a paper, it wasn't online, and that was the big challenge, was, selling enough advertising to, pay the printer every month, and that was really, it's a huge challenge to do that. And now, people that can do it online, it's just so amazing that you can put that out there and have all these people around the world see it. And back when we were doing it, we published from 91 to 96. It was just in the paper form, and it was very hard going around getting, clubs and music stores and those types of businesses to advertise. It was always a challenge. And after 6 years of that, I was tired of it.
Can you tell us about your radio show you produced and hosted from 1997 to 2004 for 94.1 WJJW in Madison, Wisconsin?
Yeah, Wisconsin, yes. Yep, that's the show that I had been, doing my newspaper, and so I worked with a couple of radio stations in town. They would advertise in my paper, and then they would give me promotion on the air in exchange for it. And I tried for a long time to try to get somebody to do an hour of local music for the bands, because I thought, well, wouldn't that be great to just have 1 hour where the local bands would get some airplay, and I campaigned for that for about 3 solid years. And finally, JJO, 94.1 JJO, flipped formats. They went from classic rock to more of the heavy rock, the plain, the Guns N' Roses and
right.
9 Inch Nails and things like that. And And when they switched formats, I contacted them, and they were playing a lot of what we wrote about, a lot of the heavier bands. And so I went to them, and I approached them with a show and just said, 1 hour per week. I don't care if it's 3 in the morning. It doesn't matter. And they had been talking about doing it, so there was an engineer, DJ there, that was interested in doing the show also, so they kind of paired us together. He could run the board, he knew how, what to do in the studio, and then I kind of had the idea of like how to, present the bands, and we eventually had bands come in every week, and we'd play music around them, and then we would interview one of the bands, and it turned out to be a really cool thing, and now it's very common, to see local band, or to hear local bands on the radio stations, and I'm really glad that I helped launch that here in Madison, because they still show or air that show, and there's other local shows all over the state. So it's a great thing that local musicians can get some airplay, because they deserve all the help they can get, really.
When you were producing it, did you write your scripts before a show? Or?
I did. For a long time, I was very meticulous about it. I would have, who was going to be on, and who we were going to play, and what we were going to ask them, and and I did the research, and I did that for years, and after about 3 or 4 years of doing that every week, I got to the point where it was like, I knew what songs I was going to play, but I really kind of let it go as far as like when the band would come in. Mm-hmm. Of course, I knew who they were and, some basic information, but then I kind of went to a way of like flying by the seat of your pants, like let's just stand in here and talk and see where it goes, and it ended up being a lot more fun and a lot more crazy. We had some real crazy stuff happen.
That's awesome. How come you stopped doing that?
Why did I stop doing it?
Yeah.
Well, actually, I left the radio station to write the AC/DC book.
Oh, did it take a lot of your time?
Oh God, yeah. It was. It took altogether the whole deal from the time I got signed until the time the book came out was 2 years.
Wow.
And I spent like maybe 3 months on research, and then 9 months on writing it, and then the editor had to go in and pick out what they really wanted to use, and then I had to go back over that and make sure that was the way we wanted it. So it was quite a process. It took two full years of my life before the book was done.
That's awesome. But yeah, like you said, in order to get a book out and write your passion and get something out there that you really believe in and you really want to do, I guess you have to sacrifice things and give them up.
Oh yeah. It's I thought I could do both, but when I look back now on how much concentration the book took, it would have been really hard for me to do a radio show every week and still stay in the frame of mind that I needed to be in to write the book. The book ended up really consuming me for a while. I was consumed with AC/DC, which was not a bad thing. It was just kind of crazy.
Now that the book is out, would you ever go back to radio someday?
Oh yeah, I love radio. I love doing radio, and I love doing radio interviews. I listen to the radio constantly. I'm totally addicted to radio, and always enjoy it. It's a really fun medium, I think, to get involved in.
What do you think of internet radio?
I like it a lot. I think it's very cool that people can actually just do it, get out there with their own shows and play a lot of the music that they want to play. But in a way, it's overwhelming to me, too, because there's so many choices now that, it's hard. I'm kind of like, I want to hear everything all at once. So it kind of gets to me sometimes. I'm like, I'm not going to have enough time in my life to listen to all the stations out there. But I think it's a great way, though, for people to really get into it without having to, to get the proverbial job, at a radio station, because the jobs are getting harder and harder to get. A lot of the stations are automating. They automate so where people come in and they voice track their stuff, and they're not in there live, and they're making a lot less jobs available for people in radio, which is kind of sad to see.
There's a lot of competition growing in both like the radio on local levels and terrestrial levels, but like you said, that's what's happening in radio. They're cutting back and they're cutting out jobs in some areas too. Internet radio is becoming very popular. It's a competition. There's a lot of DJs out there that are in competition with one another, and like trying to say who's got the best show. There's haters, there's people that get along, so it's a mix of different personalities, but I find it's a very competitive business. And anybody, yeah, you're right, anybody can start the broadcast station and get it started. And you got to stay focused in this field. You got to just press forward no matter what. I've been finding in this field, if there's any bad apples that come along the way, you just keep going and pressing forward and keeping a positive attitude.
Oh, absolutely. And you just, you go after your passion. I mean, if you're really into something or into a certain type of music or whatever, and you want to do your own show, the internet makes it perfect for that. So I think it's, it just opens up so many more opportunities, which I think is good, since they are cutting back a lot on the traditional radio stations.
What I love about it the most is that there's lots of bands out there, and there's so much competition and so many bands in the field today that there's lots that go undiscovered. And the benefit of internet radio is that it helps these bands get airplay, get discovered, and get their name out there.
Oh God, yeah, yep. It's so different than it used to be. Trying to get heard. Trying to get people in different areas. It was the only thing you could do is tour. Get in a van and drive all over the place. Now you just post your video on YouTube, and the whole world can watch you. And that's really a fantastic thing to see. I mean, it wasn't like this 10 years ago at all.
What musicians do you profile for WI Music News?
I usually write about the bands that I promote. I write about the local and regional area. Mm-hmm. Then I still, throw in my stuff, like when I just saw Les Paul a month ago. I write about that, or like when I saw Cliff and Brian in Florida last July, I definitely throw that in too. So it's kind of a mix now of like what I'm doing, and then trying to help out the local bands that send me what they're doing. So it works both ways. It's kind of my own blog, and then a way to help promote the bands in my area.
Are you teaching at the moment?
I won't be until this fall, but I actually will be teaching a 6-week course at the UW here in Madison, Wisconsin, for the continuing education program called the History of Rock and Roll, which is going to be crazy because I'm going to start in the 20s when the blues artists started and come up to present day time, so I'm going to have to squeeze like pretty much 80 years of music into 6 classes.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
You're going to be busy.
It should be really interesting. My theory is to talk about who really shaped music in each decade. And it's, of course, everybody's got their own opinion about it, but it'll be kind of fun to take like the 50s and the 60s and so on, and kind of decide like who were the top 3 artists that really shaped that decade. And I'm really looking forward to the students and what they're going to bring into the class, not just what I feel I want to teach. I'm looking forward to learning stuff from them too. So it should be a lot of fun because we're going to play music. Mm-hmm. And if people want to dance, they can do that too.
I guess you're going to really be busy when that happens, and I guess you're getting busy right now trying to come up with lessons and come up with all the material.
Oh God, yeah. I'm going through this DVD set that I have, the History of Rock and Roll. It's 10 hours of programming that a friend of mine gave to me, which is really cool, and it's giving me a good timeline. Although there's I'm a fan of music myself. I love music so much that there's a lot of my own stuff that I want to throw in too. But it's an amazing thing to watch how rock and roll has changed over the years, and how bands or artists from decades ago still influence the music that comes out today. That fascinates me.
Wow. Do you think you'll be able to teach online in the future?
That's a possibility. I've had a couple people ask me that already that can't be here for the classes, and they were asking how they could do it online, or could they listen in online. So we're going to have to check into maybe doing something like that, because I think it would be a lot of fun to be able to open it up to the internet audience out there, and not just have it here in a classroom.
Hopefully the university will put that forward and make it happen.
Yeah, that would be very cool. I'm excited about it, and I guess I will be. We also have another college here. It's the Madison Area Technical College. They've asked that I do this class for them next spring, so I guess I'll be doing it at 2 different schools, and that's a great way to launch it and see what happens and see if it works.
That's great.
Yeah, I'm very excited about it. My mom was a teacher, so I have great respect for teachers. It's a hard job.
We'd like to see these lessons too online. We can learn a lot from you.
Well, I hope so. I would like to think that. I guess we'll see. We'll see what I come up with. And, as I said, I'm looking forward to the students and what they're going to bring to it, too. Because I think everybody's got their own favorites and their own theory about, who influenced who and that kind of thing. And I really love that part of the music, how it evolves. It keeps coming back around. And I think that's really exciting. Just like AC/DC themselves, how they really were influenced a lot by the blues artists that from a long time ago, and you can hear that in their music. And it's just a fascinating thing that they can, make it their own, and then look at all the bands now today that have been influenced by AC/DC, and how you can hear that in their music.
There are a lot of bands out there that's got a huge influence from AC/DC and the big rock stars.
Oh God, yeah. It's always fun to kind of hear new stuff and then go, oh, that sounds a lot like this, and it's very cool because that's the way it should be. Is that artists should be, the new artists should be influenced by what's happened or what's come up in the past, because that's really, the roots of the sound of rock and roll. And I appreciate, people that can appreciate that and honor that. So I like to look at the whole history of music. A lot of people kind of look at it like, oh, I don't like the older stuff, or I don't like blues, or I don't like this or that, and I like to check all of it out, because I think that there's always something there to enjoy, there's always something to learn, and you'd be surprised, and you find an artist from a long time ago that you'd never heard of, and then all of a sudden you're a fan. And that's what's so, cool to me about music, is it's timeless. There's no limit on when, people stop liking a certain song. It keeps growing as it goes, and more people get turned on to it. And I guess it's just any great art, any painters or sculptors or any of that, they can go off and do that for 80 years and then, have people follow in their footsteps for another 80 years. That's what's so great about the entertainment business.
Yeah, you're right. When I'm not listening to internet radio, like turn on Q107, and I do hear like a lot of the classic rock oldies and old rock stars before my time, before I was born. Do you like a lot of that, or what's your favorite type of music that you listen to? There's a lot of old bands that I've grown up listening to, like Max Webster. I'm a huge Kim Mitchell fan because I grew up listening to him. And Led Zeppelin, AC/DC, the old classics like Scorpions. They don't play them on internet radio, but I do hear them on Q107. Yeah, those are some of the greats, and I have a 14-year-old son that totally loves the Scorpions right now. That's so cool to see that he's only 14, but, he loves that stuff. He loves the Scorpions and Twisted Sister. That's in my CD collection, all those oldies from vinyl to CDs. Yes, yep. Yep, that's good stuff, It'll be, people will be playing it 100 years from now. From your experience, do you have any advice for broadcasting and journalist students starting a career in radio broadcasting or journalism? I just would suggest to go with what you love. I mean, if you're really, really in love with writing and in love with music, then you're going to find a way to do, to make a career out of it. Journalists, I greatly recommend, going to school, getting that college degree, because nowadays without, I got jobs when I started out because you didn't need a college degree, to get into a newspaper or whatever. Now today it's very much like that, where you have to have the college degree. So I would, strongly suggest that you get as much schooling as you can get, and then for writers, write about what you love. I mean, I've written about music for so many years, and I do write poetry, and I've written humorous articles for magazines, things like that, but I still keep coming back to what I really love the most, because that's really where your passion's at, and that's going to make it easier all the way around. I think it's going to it's easy to write about something that you love about so much, or that you love so much. Do you ever think you'll publish your poetry someday? I have a book that I have put together of poetry, and I've thought about it. I haven't really even shopped it yet, because it'll be kind of strange for me. I'm known as a rock journalist that writes about rock and roll, so it'll be kind of hard for me to have people look at my poetry and judge it, and I don't know if I can handle that. Maybe in time. Yeah, maybe, yeah, or maybe under another name. Has any bands ever used your poetry for songwriting? No, but I've written lyrics for people before.
So I actually, there's an artist in France right now. His name is Fred Tomps, and he's on MySpace. He's in my top friends. He's a really cool rock and roller who lives outside of Paris, and he's doing a new album. It'll come out probably in the next couple of months. It's being manufactured right now, but he asked me to write lyrics for a couple of his songs, and that was great fun for me. I mean, that was really like such a real change of pace. You know, here you got a song, you know, pounding away, and he gave me, you know, like he sang over it where the words needed to be, and then I wrote the words, you know, to fit. But it was kind of funny because he sings, you know, he sings in English even though he speaks French. And we had to kind of get over that, like, okay, where should the words fall in the music? Like, what do you hear? And so he kind of helped me with that. But then I wrote lyrics for 2 of his songs, so I can't wait for that CD to come out and actually see that.
Yeah, it would be great to see the end result.
Yeah, yep, I'm excited about that because you know, I've written about bands for so many years, but I'm never like on the CD. So it'll be cool to like hear. I've heard the songs already, and him singing, you know, stuff that I came up with is just such a huge compliment. You know, to hear somebody jamming away at something that you wrote.
Right.
I'm excited about that.
Have you ever interviewed bands on video?
Not really, except for, well, there is a local television station. It's kind of like I don't want to say the college station, but it's a public access station that you can go in and, you know, do a TV show. And I had a friend that did that for many years. He did a weekly TV show, and I came in many times and co-hosted the show with him. And so then we did, you know, sit down on video and interview the band. And it was hard. It's hard for me to be on video because I'm used to writing and I'm used to radio. And when I'm on TV, I've, you know, found out very quickly that I throw my hands around too much and I make faces too much. It doesn't work for video at all. I had to learn to just completely, like, put the brakes on and, you know, calm it down so, you know, you don't look like you're constantly making faces. So that was a big learning thing for me.
So you enjoy the talking better than the video?
Oh God, yeah. When you do radio, that's what's perfect about radio. You don't have to comb your hair. You don't have to put on any makeup. Nobody knows what you're wearing. It's perfect. I love it. It's much better. TV, you watch yourself on video, and you're like, oh, why did I wear that color? Or, oh my God, look at my hair. I'm horrible that way.
Or I made this certain face.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I was like, could you roll your eyes one more time? Oh my God, I did it again. Oh, this is so embarrassing. So yeah, I had to learn.
That would be funny, actually. It's more natural, I think.
Yes, yeah, it is, but it's just, oh my God, I have a hard time watching myself anyway, so that was huge for me.
It's funny, though. I find it funny.
Yeah. Yeah, I learned. It was like a crash course. It was. I'm just like, oh my God, if I ever do TV again. And I did quite a few shows over the years, so I guess I learned. You know, I see shows toward the end of when I was doing that I don't, you know, make as many faces. I think I learned.
Yeah, you do in time.
Yeah, it's still too tempting though, because I throw my hands around a lot, and you know, and I always make faces at everything pretty much. So it was hard for me. I guess if it was a goofy show where you could just look stupid, then I guess it would work really well.
I'd love to see that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's been some shows out there. Believe me, I'm glad they're not around anymore.
Oh, comedy.
I have some copies, and I'm just like, oh my God, I'm not showing these to anybody.
You probably make a good comedy show.
Oh God, yeah, yeah. I am a completely frustrated stand-up comedian, and someday I'm going to get up on stage and do a routine and finally get that out of my system. So
we look forward to that.
Thank you. Yeah, so do I. Should be pretty good.
Boy.
It'll take a lot of nerve for me, though, because I'm finally over, you know, talking in front of people. I'm used to that now, but I used to have horrible stage fright. So, you know, being on the radio, we had, you know, 50,000 watts. We had quite an audience. I think the average audience was, you know, I don't know, anywhere from 10 to 20,000 people at any one time, and that's it's a little overwhelming when you know, you can't think about it when you're on the air. You have to just go for it.
So overall, being in this field for the time you started up to now, how do you think you've evolved in your skills?
Well, I'd like to think I've become a better writer. I like to think that I have more a bigger, what can I say? Not as narrow of a picture of what I'm seeing. Being critical and expecting bands to be a certain way. I think I've become a lot more open to different types of bands and different music. And I started out, critiquing bands early off and realized right away that was way too easy to sit back and just go, well, I didn't like this and I didn't like that and they should have done this. And I really veered away from that over the years into more of a promoter, where when I write about somebody, it's usually I'll write about somebody I like, and I want to tell people about them. So I kind of evolved from starting out as a critic and moving into more of a, a journalist and a music reviewer.
The thing I have learned throughout the years, I've heard bands when they're raw, and then when they get signed to the proper label or they get the right fit of people in their band, I hear them 2 years later, and what I'm hearing is just absolutely amazing. So my philosophy is there's no such thing as a bad band. Once the talent's there, it's there. It's just once they find the right members, their music might be raw now, but 2 years later or 2 years down the road or a year down the road, they're awesome.
Well, exactly, and that's what's fun about it, too, over the years, is watching people evolve. And, some of the musicians that I've known, all the different bands that they've been in, and I love to see a success story where people keep moving in the right direction, they keep following their dreams, and keep getting better. And that's what the whole point is to, to do what you love, and sooner or later it all comes around, it comes back to you.
When you first heard AC/DC the first time, how did they sound to you?
Oh, that's what's so funny about AC/DC to me, is they sound exactly like they did the first night I met them. They really, I mean, they're better, but they were so amazing when I first saw them that I don't know how they could have gotten any better. They completely blew me away the first night that I saw them in a club, and there wasn't hardly anybody there. There was probably 75 people in the whole place, and they were just, they blew me away, and I still think they put on the same show today as they did, 30 years ago. They were from another planet as far as I'm concerned. They were just unbelievable.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I've been a Kim Mitchell fan all my life, and I went to see him in concerts. I've been going to see him in concert, and every time he does a concert, he's amazing. He's better. He's better live, and he puts on a really good show. It's worth going to see him.
Oh yeah, it's always great. I can't wait, for AC/DC to come back on tour again, because I haven't seen them now for 8 years, and now I'm really going to appreciate the opportunity to see them again, and I'm sure they're going to love being back on the road. So their shows are going to be, not only will they sell out within seconds, but I'm sure they're going to be really, really amazing to see. So it's really a great thing to see them this many years later, and they're still kicking butt and taking names. So
I was lucky to see them in 2003 at the SARS concert.
Oh, did you really?
Yes, I did, and they were awesome. It was worth going to SARS and watching them on stage.
Yeah, I read about that, and I actually
I
sat and had a beer with Brian Johnson like 5 days after that show down in Florida when he flew home, and I didn't know, it was funny because I was on vacation and I wasn't really paying attention to the press and what was going on with it. I just knew that, they had done a big show, and he was laughing about how loud the crowd was. He said that, the audience was just amazingly loud, and then later on I find out, well, yeah, you're playing to 500,000 people. They can be pretty loud. He just acted like it was just, just a regular gig. It was a lot of fun. He really had a lot of fun, but, it was, wasn't it the biggest concert in Canadian history, I believe?
It is. It was one of the best concerts I've ever been to.
Yeah. I wish I would have been there for that, because, and didn't Angus and Malcolm jam with the Stones then?
Yes, they did.
Yeah, that's so cool. That's because I know that way back when I first met them, they idolized the Rolling Stones. So, and it really put a new meaning on the first night that I met the band, which you'll read this in my book. But the very first night I saw them play, I was backstage talking to them afterwards. I was telling them how incredible they were, and I said, and I don't know why I said this. I just kind of blurted it out. I just said, someday you guys are going to be as big as the Rolling Stones. And they just laughed. They thought it was the funniest thing they'd ever heard.
At that time, they probably thought they'd never make it that far.
Oh, not that big. No,
Yeah.
no. I don't think they realized that they were gonna eventually be that big. And that's what was kind of a running joke between us for many years, because I told them that. I said, no, I said, you guys are gonna be huge. I mean, huge, huge. And when I mentioned the Rolling Stones, then 30 years later they end up playing with the Rolling Stones. I just thought that was so funny, because I didn't even plan on saying that particular band. It just kind of came out off the top of my head, and it's kind of funny that it ended up being so true.
Before we wrap up our interview, can you tell the fans your web address and where to access your books, buy them online?
Yeah, yep. You can go to SusanMasino.com, which is Masino. SusanMasino.com. You can go to myspace.com/Susan Masino, and you can not only can you go to your local bookstore and they can order a copy for you, but you can go to Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com to get a copy.
Okay. Any last words, Susan?
I guess, thank you so much for the interview, and for all the students out there that want to get into journalism or radio broadcasting. Like I said, follow your passion, and everything else will fall into place.
I definitely want to have you back someday again.
Oh, I'd love to do it again. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Susan, for allowing our E-Zine to interview you. You rock.
So do you, Tina. Thank you.